never thought I'd be the one to say these words out loud. Not because they're shameful, because they are mine, heavy and honest. And for so long, I carried them like a secret no one should touch. Maybe saying them is the only way this weight can stop choking me. I was in love. Not the easy kind you toss into small talk, but the kind that rearranges the furniture of your life. Morning routines, the way you imagine your future, the private language that becomes yours alone. From the first laugh, I believed I'd found a missing piece I hadn't known I'd lost. His voice became the soundtrack of my days, his presence the axis around which small plans spun. We dreamed aloud. Marriage, a home, which wall would hold our pictures? Each late-night scroll through listings felt like construction on a shared life. Love, though, has a way of flattering your blind spots. For 2 years, I lived inside that glow. Then, almost imperceptibly, shadows crept in. He didn't scream or strike. He simply receded. Long, intimate calls collapsed into clipped check-ins. Messages sat unread. Excuses multiplied like small, plausible stories. Deadlines, work, stress. I smothered the unease with explanations, convincing myself I was being petty, that caution was a thief dressed as doubt. I kept quiet, folding my worries like paper into the back of a drawer. But quiet is a poor shield. It doesn't stop the small betrayals from lining up and revealing themselves. There was perfume, a whisper of someone else that clung to him like a sentence half-spoken. When I asked, he shrugged and smiled a practiced smile. "A goodbye hug," he said, a casual dismissal meant to settle me. I wanted to believe him so badly that my trust became a resource I hoarded for him alone. Then came the night that unmade everything. He said he'd be late. I decided, foolishly and bravely at once, to surprise him, to remind us of us. I carried his favorite meal up the stairs, palms sweaty, heart loud enough to believe in its own hope. Before my knuckles reached the door, laughter spilled into the stairwell. Not a hollow laugh from a television, but bright, intimate, dangerously close. My steps faltered. I knocked anyway. The door opened, and the room answered with a sight that rearranged my bones. He stood there like the center of a photograph gone wrong. A woman, barefoot, wrapped in his shirt, settled on his couch as if she'd always belonged, looked up with a lazy smile. The food clattered from my hands. I don't remember the descent. Memory telescopes and leaves only the sharp thing, a hollow where my breath should have been. I walked away because my feet knew flight before my heart could speak. What followed was a blur of words meant to repair what had been deliberately broken. He called and wrote until cries lost meaning. He minimized, apologized, swore it was nothing. "A mistake," he said, as if betrayal can be measured and put back into a drawer. But trust shatters in a way that sharp edges don't allow you to ignore. Every laughter, every promise we had shared now had a seam running through it. Doubt carved questions into the soft place where faith used to be. I battled myself, between the part that loved enough to forgive and the part finally waking up, recognizing that forgiveness is not always salvation. The final scene happened in a cafe, ordinary and fluorescent, where decisions often dress up as casual conversations. I was prepared to close the chapter. I sat across from him hoping for remorse, for an honest break that might leave room for healing. Instead, I met a face untroubled by guilt. He looked almost relieved. Then he said it. He hadn't been happy for months. That he didn't know how to end things without breaking me, so he chose a coward's path, to break me by betraying me. Hearing that, the idea that betrayal was a chosen exit rather than a stumble, cut deeper than the affair itself. It wasn't an accident. It was a decision. In that precise moment, the fog cleared. I saw him as he was, not as the version I had built in my head. Love doesn't weaponize the person you claim to care about to escape your own discomfort. Realizing that, I stood up. The coffee cooled, the conversation stopped, and I walked away. Not only from him, but from the story I had been telling myself for 2 years. Months later, the hurt is still in me, but it's been reshaped. The first cut was raw and blinding. Now it's a scar that reminds rather than defines. Out of the ruin came a surprising thing: strength. His choices don't rewrite my value. If anything, surviving this has shown me I am more whole than I feared. I learned I can grieve and still move forward. I can be tender and still choose myself. If you're carrying a similar ache, know this: sometimes the ending you dread most is the doorway to the life you actually need. The loss will teach you what you were never allowed to see: the person you can become when you stop fitting yourself into someone else's escape plan.